Dan Morris. You're watching Bosun Dan Bushcraft, and today you are joining me from a very gloomy and quite dark woodland near where I live in the heart of Staffordshire, which is quite appropriate as Halloween's only tomorrow. It's just around the corner, so being a bit gloomy kind of gives it that spooky edge. Very nice. Now today we are back in the woods, and we're going to be looking at tarps and bashas as today, well, one specific element of tarps and bashas, because right now we are in that magical season where rain is pretty much a given anytime you go out. So we're going to be wanting to carry something to erect a roof. My personal preference is the old military basha. I'll go into that in more detail a bit later on and discuss why I like these things so much. But before all of that nonsense and the actual point of this video, I'm staying out here for lunch. So I need to get food cooking, which this time I've got a lovely big T-bone steak. So it is going to require the construction of another bushcraft grill. Right, let's construct a bushcraft grill. So don't need all of these little stubby bits on the side. Keep that, that'll make quite a good little tie-in. Trim all that. Now folks, if you are, I don't know if you can see my face, if you are going to construct yourself a bushcraft grill, go for something like a sycamore or a rowan or anything that you know isn't going to be toxic when you're cooking it. Because obviously it's going to get hot, steam's going to come out of it, and that's going to, in some part, impart its way into whatever you're cooking. I quite like sycamore or ash myself for that. You need a nice green wood, something that's nice and alive and wet so that it won't instantly set fire to it. Because obviously if your grill catches fire, that's of no use whatsoever. And those of you who have tuned into this video specifically just to see what I'm going to be doing basha wise, feel free to fast forward a bit. I'm just going to get my cook on while I'm in the woods. Almost. You know, the last time I made one of these, it all went really nice and easy. But I didn't film that last one. I just made it and used it. So because I'm filming this, it's going to be an absolute pig. Beautiful. And what do we need? That's under. So we want that over. And just plait it in. Is it going to let me? Ah, yes. Oh, that'll do. That's got it. That'll do the job for me T-bone. Brilliant. Right. Now let's see if it holds the weight. Oh yes. Look at that. On the grill. Now, if I could just find a rock or maybe another stick, a Y-piece stick, to just prop under that to make sure it can't fall over. So I think what I'm going to do, split this one. There we are. It's really got a nice spike at the bottom of it. And just use this one to secure that. There we go. Oh yes. And now for my modified Wadobo. I've thrown lots of extra stuff in this, including pepper and Cajun seasoning, turmeric. I even actually put a little grinding of a couple of spoons of ground up blackout coffee, just because it makes a great seasoning. In a small amount, I wouldn't absolutely cake it in it, but in a small amount, coffee makes a brilliant seasoning. And as usual, the ever favourite chicken breast. Magnificent. Look at that. Oh. Yeah. Now, I know it looks on a lot of my videos like I just come out to the woods to peg out. But honestly, generally when I come to the woods, I haven't eaten at all at any point prior to me being in the woods. So usually, I'm pretty starving. Good liberal coating of Rudebo. Right then, let's get this by the fire and let's get on with our actual purpose for being in here. Set these cooking. Oh, the smell of wood. Oops. As usual, everything is absolutely saturated, so it is a case of find the dry stuff you can, split it, la-di-da. I'm not going to lie, I did all that in about 5 minutes because the last time I was here, I'd cut way more wood than I needed to. So I'd already got wood lying around that I didn't need to do anything else with. Use that. Right then, so basha shelters, before we waffle about why I prefer the military bashers over anything else. We'll just first of all, we'll go into the actual subject matter of today's video. When you've got a shelter like this, which is basically just a roof, one of the big things that you'll face is wind whipping about under it, and usually what you try and do is put your shelter so the back of it goes into the wind to keep the wind chill off you. But how do you fasten these things together? How do you get tarps and stuff to sit together neatly and hold themselves together to keep the wind out? This is my take on how I do that without buying anything. One of the biggest bugbears that I have with bushcraft, particularly bushcrafters on YouTube, and this isn't aimed at anybody directly at all, so please don't think I'm talking about you. I'm not. This is a very general statement. You see kit on kit on kit on kit. People buying a million things to do jobs. For me, that's great if that's how you like to do it. If you're just camping, that's cool. I'm not knocking anybody for it. Me personally, I like to find an actual bushcraft solution. So something in nature that you can do then and there to cure your problem for you. That is exactly what we're gonna do. Okay, so I'll start throw the firewood about and scare off some pigeon in the distance. Right then. So, I'm not going to keep you in too much suspense. What we're actually going to do is make clamps to hold the bashers together. So go get yourselves a stick, something a good sort of like, you know, about an inch and a bit across will do it. Firstly, we want a nice flat end on there to start with. I'm going to cut it about 3-4 inches long. Like that. Pop the saw down a second. Now what I want to do is split that right down the middle. Now, in the true sense of bushcraft, we're neaten this up and take all the bark off it. Make it look a bit better, make it look a bit more like what it is. A thing that we're making to do a bushcraft job. And we don't want it to be super rough. Now you can tell I'm quite used to using bladed implements, but if you're not, please do this while it's still fastened to the big stick so that you don't have to cut towards yourself and you're not going to shave yourself to death with your own knife. That knotty bit might be a problem in a minute. Try and cut from sections that don't have knots. Let's try and split this as close to the middle as I can possibly get it. Doesn't really matter if it's not super perfect. And if you're doing what I'm doing and using a Swiss Army knife to do this, please go easy. These blades are thin. There we go, a nice little squeeze. That breaks. It's not perfectly in half. It's not perfectly in half, but it really doesn't need to be. So now what I'm going to do, flatten it up on its edges so it's a bit more level. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to whip the corners off it a little bit, just to make sure it's not sharp. Yeah, you don't want it being too sharp on your tarpaulin or your basha. Just level this one up a bit. Now what you want to do, as close to in the middle as you can, we're going to put a groove. Just a simple little groove. I mean, you could do this with your saw. It doesn't have to be your knife. Whatever you're more comfortable with. Or if you go off one of what I was saying with one of my previous videos, you could even use your axe. And like I said, it doesn't need to be a massive groove. You'll find out why we need it in just a little while. There we go. Magic. Well, just a little groove. The grooves are somewhere close to being around the same place as each other. Just what we need. Now what I'm going to need is a stick. Where on earth am I going to find one of them? Ah, lovely. So you could probably already sort of see what's going to happen with this. We're going to trap the stick in between our two clamp pieces, and that is going to form a pivot. Make sure you do leave enough as you can actually get your basha sheets in there, okay? I'll explain all that in a minute. But I'm not going to need the stick to be that long, so we'll just trim that off. And trim that off. Pop my stick down where I won't lose it. Now, this bit where we've done that little bit of shaping on the front, and I know I've roughed it. If you've got the time and the patience and you want to, you can make them real pretty. We don't need to for what we're doing. What I do need to do is taper this back edge on the blunt parts at the back, and I'm literally just going to shave a taper out of that. You'll see why we need that in just a minute. That'll do. How's that coming along? Just checking my stuff ain't burning really. Yeah. There we go. There we are. So you can see we've got a little discrepancy there. So with bankline's really good for doing this because it's got a good stretch in it. So you can get it really tight. Doesn't have to be a bank line. Lots of other stuff will work. I have seen it done with nettle fibers and things like that. Paracord, it could work. It could work. Paracord is possibly a little bit thick, so you know. But there's nothing to stop you opening your paracord up and getting the thinner fibers from inside. That could be done without any bother. So pop our pivot stick in the middle, like so. La-di-da. And then what we're going to do is tie it nice and tight. Now, you can use a constrictor knot. They're not supposed to come undone at all. Don't know about that myself. What I like to do is start the process with just a clove hitch as an anchor, and then just tie a few overhands around it, and just have done with it. Simplicity is key with this. So basically, your clove hitch just locates everything together whilst you're doing the actual tying. I don't know if you can even see me, this front screen's terrible. So what we're going to do then is pull that super tight. As tight as I can get it. And like I say, bank line is good stretchy stuff. Take it over. Again, as silly tight as you can get it. Back to the front. Silly tight as you can get it. And from there, I'm just going to knot that a few times. Bank line has really good knotting potential. It's not, very good. It's not slippery at all. So it doesn't like to come undone. There we go. Magic. Like I say, you can be as fastidious and as neat about all this as you personally feel the need to. Now what we need, bank lines ran off. Now what I need is a jolly little wedge. So I'm literally just going to nick the back off that. All right. So I'm just going to give this a little pummeling. When you first make your wedge like this, keep it quite thick because you can always shave it down if it's too thick. If you cut it too thin, you can't do anything. That says that one didn't want to be a wedge at all, did it? But it's gonna. Right. Shape this into a wedge. So there we have a rather quickly constructed little wedge. Now this is why we needed to taper the back ends there, because what's going to happen, obviously this is a clamp, your basha sheets go in there, you open that up, you press the wedge in, you push the wedge forwards, and that's what gives you your clamping force. Okay, for the size of these bashas, I'm going to probably want about 5 of these, so I'll be back to you when I've knocked up another 4 of these things. But while we're doing that, look at the fire. Ah yes, look at the fire. A beautiful little fire with a beautiful steak. Oh, that's going to be delightful. Okay, so that's all my clamps, mate. Let's get this back tarp up. Now, your tarps probably won't have about 15 tons paracord weighing them down, so this might be a little sloppy, but I'm just demonstrating, so don't let that worry you. Now you can always tie the corners, one under the other, yeah, like that. Slip the fabric in, like that. Wedge goes in the back. Nice tight grip. And when it's all on, the weight will form a lip so that the rain doesn't get in. That's the clever part. Two, three, yeah, there. actually done it before. There we go. Now the weight of them also, like I said a minute ago, if you set them right, keeps it folded down so rain just runs straight off it. What I'm going to do then is move this one, put this one there, and there we have it. I haven't tied it. I could tie these corners up. I'm only showing you. I can't be bothered, to be honest with you. I'm hungry. I want my dinner. But you can see, if I relinquish you from the camera stand, you can see those clamps holding it together, and the rain is just going to run off. You can organise it a little better so that you can actually clamp it so that the inner one is more underneath like that, in which case there's no way on earth any water's coming in. But that is my Bushcraft solution. Wood in the mouth. My Bushcraft solution to clamping bashes together as opposed to carrying extra equipment. And if you're one of the people who has a regular spot, you can just stash them at your regular spot so they're there when you need them. And that really is all there is to it for the clamps. Now let's get to the food, because I am absolutely Hank Marvin, he says with a grin. Ah, right, dinner time. I am starved. Now, got a right little bit of a posh treat here today. I appreciate it's getting very dark, so I brought myself some proper niceties. What I've brought is some homemade chutney, apple and apricot, I believe. Oh, with some garlic. Try that. You can see that I already fashioned up my usual woodland plate. I'm going to be really posh. Throw some cheese at it too. Look at that. No garlic. Mmm. Delightful. A bit of my special adobo mix. Oh, I am starving. So hungry that I couldn't actually be bothered to make my usual woodland fork. So I'll just rely on Loki and my Swiss Army knife. Oh, look at that. Where's my chutney? Let's have a dip. Oh. Exquisite. Oh, right. I'm going to devour this and then I'll get back to you. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love it. Oh. It's still just the best way to have your dinner. Fire crackling in the background. Delightfully juicy T-bone steak. Chicken waiting. The old Loki knife making light work of it. Chutney. Oh, beautiful. Well, that's the T-bone demolished. I shouldn't be eating stuff off the end of Loki like this. I've twice just cut my face. Made that 3 times. Worth it though. Okay then folks, so just as the last of the daylight fades out, and it is doing, it's getting very dark. I imagine through the camera it looks darker than it is. So let's get this done. Tarps. I've shown you my way of anchoring them together, and you can see, I don't know if you can with the light, but you can see it is actually a really solid way of doing it. No visible air gaps or anything like that, so it's going to keep the water out. Now, as far as tarps are concerned, I know that there is a myriad of tarps in the civilian market, and I've said this before, and I'm now going to say it again. My recommendation is the British Army Basha. They are next to indestructible. They are the strongest of any tarp you're going to be able to buy. They do double as a hammock, a stretcher, and they're strong enough that you could use them as a hammock. They have also got lots of little handles and places and loops and tie straps and all sorts of manner of things where you can get your lines on to tie them and shape them and do good things with them that a lot of civilian tarps really don't have. Yes, it is true, they are a little heavier than other civilian tarps, and they are getting, I wouldn't say harder to come by, but the price in recent years has gone up. They're not losing any value, and you know, to be honest, they're that waterproof. You could stretch them over a wooden frame and use them as a coracle. I have waterproofed mine anyway, but that's just with my sort of scheduled maintenance of what I do. Basically belt and braces, over engineering, overdoing it, waterproofing something that I know is already waterproof. It's just the way I am. I tend to overdo stuff like that. So personally, for me, the military basher, it's the only way to go. It is the only way to go for me. I know everybody's going to have their own opinions on that, and you know, we use what we use, but for me, it is the military basher all the way. It's what I know, it's what I'm sticking with, and I know there'll be a few people who watch this who do agree with that. Excuse me. A few other outdoors people and YouTubers that I've watched, I've seen you using kits such as this, or at least I've definitely seen it in your backgrounds and your man caves and things, so I know that you're a fan of this and very familiar with it. But it is down to your own choice and what you want. Sometimes you perhaps don't quite need the strength and resilience of these sorts of things, but themselves, for what is effectively a rain cover, a tarp, they themselves are pretty over-engineered. That's the way I like stuff though. I like it strong, and I don't personally mind carrying a little extra weight in my kit. It's just something I don't mind. Just chuck a stick on the fire while we're talking. So, annoyingly, I've used all the firewood I stashed last time, so the next time I come out and do something, I am going to have to cut some more wood. But I'll just go show you round the back of here again before my battery either dies or before the light goes. I have jokingly got the longest tarp lines in the world today because the trees aren't where I needed them, and it's too hard to move the Da Vinci bench. So I'm literally 30, 40, 50 feet of bank line. Hence the sticks there is because bank line is so stretchy that it won't take the weight, so I have prop and twist it. It works, doesn't matter. But there we go. Again, you can see there's no water gonna get in there, and I haven't done a particularly nice job of fastening it. Really what you want to do is slide them into the jaws so that the under one is sitting further back than the upper one, like I have with this one, because that way, I haven't done it with that one, you can tell I rushed that, but I'm only demonstrating. If I was staying the night, I'd have done it better. But the further up the back you can slide that in the jaw, the more you can see you've got 0% chance of any water getting in. And as you saw, their own weight is literally holding it in that water runoff position. So it looks like a proper little tent. It acts like a proper little tent. And you can do a nicer job than I've done of rigging that up. Like I say, I was just showing you, and I'm not staying, otherwise I would have done a neater job. But that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them I made. It took me perhaps an hour to make those very simple things, and you can use them again and again and again. I'll probably take these home so they don't get pinched. But as you see, simple, very effective, and it means that you don't have to be buying stuff for bushcraft, which is a pet hate of mine. And it also means, you know, you're working with wild materials, you're using your hands like you should be with bushcraft, Like, I'm not knocking anybody that's bought stuff, because sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes you just need a time saver, you just want the job done. I understand that totally. I mean, this fire today, and every time I'm showing you something in the woods, I aren't bushcrafting it, I'm not bow drilling it, I'm not even sparky sticking it. I'm literally putting a lighter to fire lighters because I just need the fire to cook and do what I need to do whilst I show you the thing I've come to show you. So, you know, nothing negative towards anyone who does buy clamps and things like that to do the same job. I understand totally. It's just, from my point, I'd rather do that. Not always. Sometimes, you know, sometimes a good clothes peg would do the job, wouldn't it? So, but if you are using anything like, have a go at making them, see what you think of them. In another video, I'll show you can make a pretty decent ground vise for holding blades and things while you sharpen them, or, you know, saws. Well, even if you make it strong enough, you could have it hold your chainsaw by the bar of the chainsaw, so you can pull the chain through and easier sharpen the teeth. Something I'll show you on another one. But guys, for now, that is me done in here. I have no more waffle for you until the next video and this mammoth one that's coming. It's not about mammoths, by the way. So from Bosun down, that is all. As always, guys, get yourselves out there, get bushcrafting, get having fun, get making tarp clamps, and above all, be safe. And I will catch you on the next one. And that is all from Bosun Dan. And I will leave you with a little bit of footage of the lovely fire. Yeah, that's enough. We're not doing ASMR.